I'm Abby Huntsman in for Martha McCallum. The outage has left thousands of passengers stranded around the globe, and they have nowhere to go. Delta saying customers headed to airports should still expect delays and flight cancellations, but that departures are slowly getting back to normal. Jonathan Sari is live for us at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport in Atlanta, one of the busiest in the world. Jonathan, it's going to be a long day for a lot of people.
It will indeed, Abby. Delta announcing it has just lifted the ground stop and allowing a limited number of departing flights out of this airport. Right now, as you look around, the lines are actually not much longer than what you would anticipate on a typical Monday morning. Delta opening some additional kiosks to deal with the special needs of these customers. But take a look at this video a couple hours ago when this airport was jam-packed with travelers. And it wasn't just Atlanta, it was system-wide, worldwide. Delta blames the problem on a power outage which occurred around 2:30 this morning. The airline says flights already in the air are operating normally, but large-scale cancellations and delays are expected throughout today for outbound flights. A passenger in Chicago describes his experience. Listen.
I asked them what time do they fly. Start boarding, and they told me that they couldn't check because they had some problem with the system. They think that the plane leaves at 8, but they couldn't tell me what time. I just hope I can find some people who will be telling me, yeah, I'm going to be departing soon or something, but I don't know yet.
This morning, Delta Airlines tweeted that its flight status systems and airport screens were incorrectly showing flights on time. Widespread cancellations are occurring and expected teams are working to resolve. And as we come back to our live shot, just anecdotally looking at the boards here, I can see that things are slowly returning to normal. An hour ago, I was looking at them and it was listing most of the flights as on time. Now we're seeing many of the delays being listed, as well as some of the cancellations, an indication that things here are slowly returning to normal. Delta is issuing travel waivers to passengers whose flights have either been canceled or significantly delayed. They can reschedule their flights without penalty over the next 4 days or request full refunds. Abby?
Well, it's going to be a nightmare for a lot of people today. All right, Jonathan Sari live for us at the Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Thanks so much, Jonathan.
3 past the hour. Donald Trump trying to turn the page today after a rough week and a slip in the polls against Hillary Clinton. It begins later today, and that is being billed as a major address on the economy. Latest Washington Post poll shows Trump trailing Clinton by 8 points. Trump going on the attack, hitting Hillary Clinton for comments that she, quote, short-circuited during an interview with our own Chris Wallace about 8 days ago.
She short-circuited. She used the term short-circuited. She took a little short circuit in the brain, and she's got problems. I mean, if we had real people, this would be a real problem for her. But I think that the people of this country don't want somebody that's going to short circuit up here.
Byron York, chief political correspondent of Washington Examiner. He's plugged in, Fox News contributor. Byron, good morning to you.
Good morning, Bill.
We're going to debate this whole thing back and forth from Friday afternoon in a moment here. But back to the point of the day. This should be Trump's strongest card, the economy, right?
It should be. And Trump was always going to roll out a new, more detailed economic plan, more detailed than the bare bones one he's had on his website for many months. So it was always going to happen, but it's particularly important now because, one, it's the most important issue to voters. And Paul Manafort, Trump's campaign chief, said that this economic speech would get the campaign, quote, back where it belongs. And the other thing, as Manafort implied, is that Trump has been in a bad place for the past couple of weeks. He had a really bad week last week and needs to get back on actual issues.
Speaking of Manafort, he was with us on Friday morning, and he previewed what we should hear in part a bit later this morning.
When you look at the taxes that Hillary Clinton will increase as a result of the programs that she announced 2 weeks ago in Philadelphia, we're talking about record tax increases on the American middle class, on American businesses, and these are American businesses already the highest tax rates in the world. So the point of it all is the economy is not in good shape. This campaign is going to be about jobs and a growth economy.
So there you have the contrast. That's the starting point for today, Byron.
Absolutely, and Trump wants to roll out, as Manafort just mentioned, a huge decrease in the corporate tax. The corporate tax in the United States, one of the highest in the world at 35%. They want to take it all the way down to 15%, make it one of the lowest. But on the people side, they want to allow parents to fully deduct child care expenses. Also see an income tax cut, especially targeted toward the middle class. So this is a way in which Trump wants to get ahead on this issue of the economy. You know, in the polls, when they ask, well, which candidate would be better handling the economy, Trump has had a lead for quite a while, but Clinton cut into that lead pretty big last week. This is a way to get Trump's dominance
Just
back.
quickly, some key issues later today. Simplify taxes for everyone. We're going to hear about that. Freeze the new federal regulations, which Trump is big on, and the death tax, and revive the Keystone Pipeline project. Barring unforeseen events in the next 3 months, Byron, does the economy decide this election, do you believe?
We've had a lot of unforeseen events already. Yes, it does. Over the past several years, many years, certainly since the economic meltdown in 2008, this has been the voters' absolute top concern. What you've seen in the past several months with ISIS attacks, you've seen national security rise to a level almost as high as the economy. But I think there's no doubt that if the past is any guide, voters will have their own economic condition and the larger economy in mind when they vote.
11 o'clock a.m. this morning from Detroit. Thank you, Byron York. Analysis
Thank you,
there
Bill.
in Washington. Abby.
All right, thank you, Bill. So is Ohio Governor John Kasich finally inching closer to endorsing Donald Trump? Well, Kasich says while he will not vote for Hillary Clinton, it would probably take a lot to line up behind Trump. And he also warned Trump's divisive style of politics could cost him the Buckeye State. Take a listen.
I still think it's difficult if you are dividing to be able to win in Ohio. I think it's really, really difficult.
What does Donald Trump need to do to get you to vote for him?
You know, there's so much water over the dam now, it's become increasingly difficult. But I want, unifying. You can either operate on the dark side of the street or you can operate in the light. I believe that America needs people to operate in the light. Plain and simple.
Well, Kasich also addressed claims that Donald Trump offered him the VP spot, confirming his team was contacted about possibly being on the ticket, but the Ohio governor says he never spoke to Trump directly about it or even considered it.
Also says it's going to be tough to win in Ohio. I mean, is it only because the state is very close right now?
And you also wonder if he needs Governor Kasich to win that state.
He may get his endorsement after all. We'll see. Rob Portman seemed to be doing very well in his race for the Senate, so maybe that portends something.
Of the last 30 presidents, 28 have taken Ohio before winning. It's an important one.
Indeed it is.
All right, and we have got a Fox News alert now. Iran announcing it has executed a nuclear scientist found guilty of spying for the United States. And this, as we learned that the then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton discussed the scientist in emails that were found on her private server. Senator Tom Cotton telling CBS those emails may have put his life at risk.
In the emails that were on Hillary Clinton's private server, there were conversations among her senior advisors about this gentleman. That goes to show just how reckless and careless her decisions was to put that kind of highly classified information on a private server. I think her judgment is not suited to keep this country safe.
Senior political correspondent Mike Emanuel is live in St. Petersburg, Florida, where Clinton is set to hold a rally later on today. And Mike, this is a story a lot of people are talking about today. What is the Clinton campaign saying about all of it?
Well, Abby, I've been in touch with the Clinton campaign, but so far we've gotten no official response from them. As you mentioned, Iran announced that it had executed this scientist convicted of spying for the United States. Shahram Amiri said he came to the U.S. back in 2009, but returned to his country saying he had not done any activity against his homeland. Hillary Clinton had said when she was Secretary of State that he was in the U.S. of his own free will. Several emails were sent to Clinton, including one from Jake Sullivan saying, quote, The gentleman has apparently gone to his country's interest section because he is unhappy with how much time it has taken to facilitate his departure. This could lead to problematic news stories in the next 24 hours. So as you heard, Senator Tom Cotton calling the existence of these emails on a private server both reckless and careless. Abby.
Right, Mike Clinton's wanting to move on from this, but the Clinton team, they spent the majority of the weekend defending this whole email situation.
Well, that's right. She had a new explanation at a journalism conference in Washington on Friday. Hillary Clinton said she had short-circuited when she was responding to questions from Chris Wallace. Then just yesterday, her running mate was asked about this issue.
I have heard Hillary Clinton say over and over again, when I've been sitting next to her and when I've watched her on TV, that with respect to the emails, I made a mistake and I've learned something and I wouldn't do it again, and I've heard her apologize. I did hear that back and forth, and I think Chris Wallace and Hillary were sort of talking past each other last week.
That short-circuit explanation on Friday, though, led to a weekend full of articles and commentary about the very issue, an issue they've been trying to get rid of for the past week. Abby?
Yeah, it may not go away anytime soon. All right, Mike Emanuel live for us. Mike, thank you.
Got some breaking news out of Afghanistan now. An American kidnapped at gunpoint in the capital city of Kabul. A developing story right now. More on this when we get it in a live report. Stand by for that.
And plus, terrorists set their sights on the most vulnerable victims imaginable. A bomb going off in the heart of a hospital, leaving scores dead. Plus, this.
So I may have short-circuited it, and for that, I, will try to clarify, because I think, Chris Wallace and I were probably talking past each other.
Can't let that happen now, can we? More on the Trump team seizing on those comments and why Newt Gingrich says Hillary Clinton may have just come up with a whole new way to explain things.
It's one thing to lie. It's another thing to lie about lying. And then Friday, she gave us the perfect explanation. Her brain apparently had short-circuited while she was talking to you.
We're back now with the Fox News alert. The death toll is rising after a deadly terror attack in Pakistan. At least 63 people are now dead when a suicide bomber set off an explosion at a government-run hospital in the city of Quetta. Most of the victims are apparently lawyers. They were crowded into the emergency room after a prominent colleague was shot and killed earlier in the day. One government spokesperson describing it as a pre-planned attack. Not clear yet who is responsible for that.
It's very tricky if you've never run for public office to jump from being a businessman to being one of the two leaders fighting for the presidency. And he's made some mistakes. But frankly, the biggest mistake last week was made on your show. And it was, it's one thing to lie. It's another thing to lie about lying. And then Friday, she gave us the perfect explanation. Her brain apparently had short-circuited while she was talking to you. So I'll take the week. I think she managed to trump Trump in terms of a mistake.
Gingrich with Chris Wallace on Sunday calling out Hillary Clinton, the short-circuited answer about a question from Chris Wallace. That has lived now for 8 days, believe it or not. The former House Speaker says Clinton found a new way, as you heard, to lie about lying. Well, Marianne Marsh, former senior advisor to Secretary of State John Kerry, Katie Pavlich, news editor for townhall.com and a Fox News contributor. And ladies, good morning to both of you. Let's not talk past each other, ladies. Marianne, you be direct. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt here. What did she mean when she was talking about short-circuited?
I think any fair-minded person heard that comment, and it had everything to do with her answer, that she short-circuited the answer and didn't fully answer the question. And I think that's what that meant. Instead, Trump has now used this to launch very personal attacks against her as his polls have plummeted. And I expect, frankly, that not only will Trump only increase these attacks, they're going to become even more reckless and more personal, and I think it hurts him.
Just say it one more time. I'm just trying to keep this straight in my head. I don't know if it is, or was before. Now, what's your interpretation again? That she
it had everything to do with her answer. Right.
Okay.
She didn't fully answer what Chris Wallace was asking her, period.
Okay. All right. Meaning she was referring to the interview she gave with the FBI and not everything else that had been spoken prior, correct?
Yes, I think, Bill, Hillary Clinton hurts herself here by not saying the following. She could end all this by simply always saying, I made a mistake, it will never happen again, period.
Okay.
That's where the confusion comes in.
Thick as mud. Katie, go.
Well, we don't have time to go through all of the times Hillary Clinton has lied about her use of a private email server to host top secret classified information. From the beginning, at that first UN press conference that she held, she lied to the American people when she said there was never any classified information sent or received. FBI Director James Comey thoroughly debunked that. The Washington Post is now essentially, they've given Hillary Clinton 4 Pinocchios, and fact checkers all over the country multiple times are saying, just stop lying. But here's the problem. Hillary Clinton can't admit that she sent classified information because that would be admitting to a crime. And the problem with lying is you have to continually remember your lies. So in the interview with Chris Wallace, when she's trying to figure out, did I lie to the FBI? Did I lie to the American people? Which lie am I trying to get straight here? That's when she short circuits, and that's when she gets her stories crossed.
Just so for our audience, here's it from Friday afternoon. I'm going to play it one more time. Watch here and listen.
I have said during the interview and in many other occasions over the past months that what I told the FBI, which he said was truthful, is consistent with what I have said publicly. So I may have short-circuited it, and for that I, will try to clarify, because I think, Chris Wallace and I were probably talking past each other.
Okay, now, 250 days, Marianne, since she's held a press conference. I guess that's the evidence as to why it has been that long.
Well, I think she answered plenty of questions here, and in the process, this is what happened. But I think the big difference here, Bill, is between what Katie is saying and what Donald Trump and Newt Gingrich and others are saying. Katie's going after Hillary Clinton on substance. Fine, so be it. I disagree with her, but she's entitled to that. What Trump and Gingrich and others are doing are going after Hillary Clinton personally. These are very personal attacks, and they are going to increasingly become personal because Trump is now engaging in a high-low strategy. He's giving an economic speech today, but going after her very personally, and I think that's very dangerous ground.
What Katie's saying is that you have to remember what you said so you don't get caught in it yet again. Right. And what I just played for you is an example as to why perhaps there has not been a press conference in 250 days.
Right, because let's not forget about the last press conference she held when she had that horrible moment where she said, what did I wipe my server with, a cloth or something? I mean, that was the last press conference that we had with Hillary Clinton, and it made her look very bad because her inconsistencies and her lies about the email server are certainly catching up to her. And let's not forget that although Hillary last Friday said that the FBI director is claiming that everything she said to the FBI was accurate and truthful, we have no proof of that because the FBI didn't record the interview. We don't have a transcript of the interview. And based on Hillary's record of lying about everything when it comes to this issue, I'm not so sure that I agree or believe her that she would tell the truth to the FBI.
I think we've done a pretty good job of not talking past one another. But I'm still looking for an explanation on how this is defined. Ladies, thanks for now. Katie, thanks. Marianne, we've got to run. Appreciate it.
Happy Monday.
Thanks, Bill. All right, so it is the world's largest water slide, named for the German word for insane. But now the fun has turned tragic as a 10-year-old boy is killed while riding. This is just heartbreaking. Was it a mechanical failure, or is the ride simply not safe?
Shell-shocked, tears. Mom's crying. I freaked out. I ran full speed towards the slide, and I was stopped and told that I wasn't allowed to go past.
Well, the park closing immediately after the accident, leaving park officials totally stunned and scrambling to find answers.
We honestly don't know what's happened. That's why an investigation, a full investigation is necessary. We have to understand what's happened.
William Lajeunesse is standing by with more on this story. William, this is just heartbreaking. What is the latest here?
So the park is closed today and the ride is closed indefinitely. It's called Varoop. 2 to 3 people get in a raft and drop 70 stories, reaching about 60 miles an hour. Straps across their waist and shoulders is like a seatbelt that secures the riders to the raft. The ride lasts about 30 seconds. Now, police are not giving details, but some witnesses say that the staff was having problems with the straps in some of the rafts before the accident. Now, 10-year-old Caleb Schwab apparently came out of the raft during the initial descent, hitting his head on the netting that encloses the slide. The netting is held in place by steel ribs, which is more likely what the boy hit. Witnesses also say they saw blood before the ride closed down.
Our lifeguards are critical, and it would be very difficult for them to focus after something like this. So for that reason, we felt it was wise to close the park.
Caleb is the son of Kansas State Representative Scott Schwab. Abby?
William, so this slide opened, 2 years ago? Were there any other incidents that happened before this?
Well, thousands of people go to the park every day, obviously without incident. We know of no other fatalities or major accidents. Originally, Farouk had a height and age limit of 14. Caleb was 10. We don't know his height. Now, the combined weight of all the riders in the raft has to be 400 to 550 pounds, so it stops it from going airborne. Riders are weighed at the top and the bottom of the tower. We're also told they are told to remain seated and hold on to the handles at all times. Now, on opening day 2 years ago, the ride's designer said, and I'm quoting, "It's nice to know no one's going to ever come out of the ride because of the netting. But this is not a family ride. It is for thrill seekers and people who are into extreme adventures." Now, park officials say the ride is inspected every day and once a year by outside inspectors or by outside agency, if you will, Abby. But obviously, it's a very tragic incident. The family released a statement and say that Caleb was everything to them. Back to you.
Just heartbreaking. Just think about the family today. William Lajeunesse live for us. Thank you.
About 2 years ago, just last month, we had Jeff Henry on our air, who's the co-owner of that water park. Can you imagine the amount of excitement they have? Because
it's a thrill ride. I wouldn't get on it, by the way. Have you seen this thing?
I have, and I mean the way you drop there. I mean, you feel weightless for a period of several seconds. But our best to the family, and what a tragedy.
Well, and you also think about all the other parks out there, and just should we take another look to make sure they're all safe?
Well, we shall see on
it's
that.
Just heartbreaking.
Right?
So sad.
28 past the hour now. Breaking news out of Afghanistan. I mentioned this a moment ago. An American kidnapped at gunpoint. The latest details on what we are learning on that.
And
moments away.
Plus, ISIS now claiming it seized a, quote, treasure trove of American weapons, including advanced communications equipment and even a rocket launcher. How did it all fall into enemy hands?
Also, an Iranian nuclear scientist executed in Iran for espionage. And now there are questions about whether or not his name showed up on Hillary Clinton's private emails and whether or not that played a role in his fate.
And new reaction to that $400 million cash payment that some are calling ransom for 4 American hostages.
$400 million of that payment was in euros and Swiss francs, the kind of money that is favored by drug cartels and terrorists and third world gun runners all around the world.
Australia. From their SUV by gunmen wearing military uniforms. Greg Palcott gathering information on this out of London. And what more can you tell us, Greg?
Bill, we've long known that Kabul is a dangerous place. It looks like it's not getting any better. The two were taken in southeastern Kabul last night as they were traveling from their university to their residence. Both the American and the Australian are professors at the school. The gunmen dressed in Afghan security uniforms. They shattered the side window of the SUV and seized the two. They left the bodyguard and the driver behind. There's no identity yet of those who have been kidnapped, no claim of responsibility or demand for ransom yet. But kidnapping is becoming more common in Afghanistan, even in Kabul. An Indian woman was taken in June and then released. There was also a reported attempt on an American in Kabul earlier this year. Both the Taliban and ISIS are active in Afghanistan. Insecurity, crime, just adding to the bad mix there, Bill.
Yeah, Greg, also this morning, ISIS is claiming that it's captured what they call a treasure trove of U.S. military gear. What do we know about that?
This is a strange one, Bill. Yeah, in the past couple of days, posted on the ISIS website, according to sources, pictures of sophisticated U.S. military gear and identity papers of a U.S. soldier. Now, the pictures show a variety of weapons, including a rocket launcher, grenades, ammunition, communications gear, armored vest, and an American flag. There's no confirmation of when these were taken, where they were taken, even the validity of the pictures, but there have been clashes in the past couple of weeks, Bill, between Afghan military soldiers and alongside U.S. soldiers and ISIS fighters in the eastern part of Afghanistan. There have been some injuries in that. Probably most disturbing in all this, in one of the pictures, identity documents from a U.S. soldier. The U.S. denies that soldier was captured. Analysts say perhaps a position was overrun or they were left behind. There's something like 1,500 ISIS fighters estimated to be operative in Afghanistan. Back to you.
Either way, not good. Greg Palcott, thank you on all that out of London today.
paid a portion of the claim, and we got hostages home. Both of those things are appropriate, and I understand why Trump's trying to make something out of it, but there's just no there there.
$400 million of that payment was in euros and Swiss francs, the kind of money that is favored by drug cartels and terrorists. They clearly think that this was a ransom payment, and that if they take an American hostage, then maybe they too will get a $400 million windfall in 500 euro notes on an unmarked plane. That's why it's so dangerous.
As you heard there, those are two very different perspectives on a controversial $400 million payment to Iran. Well, Vice Presidential nominee Tim Kaine defending it, but some critics, including Senator Tom Cotton, says it serves as ransom in exchange for the release of 4 American hostages, and that it sends a terrible message. Well, Katie McFarland is a Fox News national security analyst and a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense in the Reagan administration. Katie, always good to see you.
Pleasure.
All right, so you're hearing from both of these men. Tim Kaine saying this is appropriate payment. Tom Cotton saying it is anything but appropriate. What is going on here?
Well, poor Tim Kaine, he was sent to do a full Clinton. What's a full Clinton? It's when you talk about the technicalities and you obscure the facts. And so it makes it sound like it really wasn't a major issue at all, that it wasn't a national security issue, it wasn't even a moral issue. It was just kind of, a legal technicality. Look, the problem with it is we paid ransom for hostages, and there are 3 very good reasons why you don't do that. One, because it only encourages the taking of more hostages, right, as Senator Cotton just said. But the other reason is because what have they done with that money? They put it right back into their defense budget. They're giving that to Hezbollah. They're using that to build up their weapon system that would then threaten America and our allies. And then the final reason is Iran is using this for a full-blown propaganda war to show to the Muslim world, look, you don't side with America, you side with us, because, look, we can push America around, just like we took those American sailors hostage with their on their knees with their hands behind their heads.
And that is the next question, because perception, as you know, KT, is everything in something like this. So how does Iran, how are they going to take advantage of this? What is stopping them from saying, all right, if we want more stuff, more money, let's just get a hold of some more hostages?
Well, that's exactly what they've done, Abby. I mean, after they got the $400 million, they went and nabbed another 2 American hostages, American dual citizen hostages. So it's not just that Iran will do it, but it says to the whole world, America pays money for hostages. America pays money to get its people back. Just like America traded 5 Taliban prisoners in exchange for Bo Bergdahl. What it does is it shows that if you really want to make some money, you want to get some of your prisoners back, grab an American. So it only increases the risk to Americans all over the world.
Well, and KT, this is the story everyone's talking about today. This just coming out. An Iranian nuclear scientist who was a secret spy for the U.S. It was announced yesterday by Iran that he was executed. You could see him here. This is Shahram Amiri. The question a lot of people are asking, I mean, he was brought up in some of Hillary Clinton's emails, and I don't want to go on suggesting that that's to blame for any of this, but it does beg the question and the concern that people have of leaks and people getting into emails where stuff like this, secret spies, are being talked about.
You know, and that's the important point to make. There is a reason we have secrets. There is a reason we keep identities of our spies away from the countries that they're spying on. And that's because it endangers their lives. And, you know, there's the old expression during World War II, loose lips sink ships. Well, this puts undue risk onto American agents who are cooperating with us at the risk of their lives. And it shows why it's really important to keep those secrets and why I think Hillary Clinton was so irresponsible to use that server, and not just because it violated a couple of laws about top secret handling of information. It's because it put people's lives at risk, people who are actually helping American national security.
Well, and Kate, I want to pull this up. We're just getting the response in from the Clinton camp about this very thing, and they're saying the Trump campaign has never met a conspiracy theory that it did not like. He and his supporters continue to use increasingly desperate rhetoric to attack Hillary Clinton and make absurd accusations because they have no ideas for the American people. It's pretty remarkable to baselessly claim that Hillary Clinton is responsible for this tragic death. So this is already, the story is already becoming, no surprise, KT, totally political.
Yeah, everybody, I mean, anytime there's any national security issue, everybody runs to their battle stations, pulls the guns up and starts firing at each other. I'd like to make a bigger point, which is there is a reason to secure classified information and to keep the secret identity of spies secret. And we have now just seen what happens when it's not.
Yeah, well, this might be the beginning of the story. KT, always good to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Abby.
We're going to see Donald Trump on the economy. His address coming up later this morning. In the meantime, Hillary Clinton made the economy a centerpiece of her campaign. But a new investigation showing her job creation record during her time in New York as a senator may be anything but solid. We'll have details on a rather exhaustive report that's out today.
And plus, it was supposed to be a routine traffic stop, but a highway patrol officer gets the shock of his life while standing on the side of the road. About a routine traffic stop. This is dash cam video from July, and it's near Cleveland. Watch as an SUV plows right into a state highway patrol officer. It also hit the patrol car and the other car that had been pulled over. Thankfully, though, the officer had only minor injuries. No word on if that driver will face any charges.
That's tough work,
Yikes.
man, you know?
Yeah, it really is.
Think about that, you know,
Yeah.
you got family at home and you have to face that. So 17 minutes now before the hour.
Biggest investment in new, good-paying jobs since World War II. Jobs in manufacturing, clean energy, technology and innovation, small business and infrastructure.
All right, so there are big pledges from Philadelphia about what Hillary Clinton would do in the Oval Office. But can she follow through? There's this Washington Post investigative piece today that finds she promised major job growth for New York when she was a senator, but all that growth never happened. Governor John Sununu, former governor of New Hampshire, former White House Chief of Staff to President George H.W. Bush, and author of The Quiet Man. Governor, good day to you. I know you've seen this.
Good day, Bill.
It's a long piece. She promised 200,000 jobs in upstate New York. And what happened?
Well, first of all, let me comment on that clip you made. It clearly shows she doesn't understand what creates long-term jobs. She thinks government spending creates long-term jobs. It doesn't. When what you have to do is deregulate and cut taxes to stimulate private investment to create those jobs. But let's go to the Post article. It's interesting that it showed up in the Washington Post. This is not an anti-Clinton paper. So on first blush, you have to wonder why the Post did it. But secondly, if you think about it,
do you have a theory on that?
They may be trying to do her a favor. She may be more comfortable arguing back and forth with Donald Trump about job creation than she is when Trump and the Republicans talk about the issues associated with her lack of character and dishonesty and lying to the American public. So I don't know if this is a clever jujitsu or a sign that the Post is tickling her.
That would be quite a twist. Now, this is what it says in part. Nearly 8 years after Clinton's Senate exit, on screen here now, there was little evidence that her economic development programs had a substantial impact on upstate employment. Despite Clinton's efforts, upstate job growth stagnated overall during her tenure, with manufacturing jobs plunging nearly 25%, according to jobs data. That's like Trump territory now, isn't it? With the message.
Well, I think you're going to see areas like that surprising people with their votes in this presidential election. They may go Republican where they traditionally have gone Democrat. But again, that result underscores the point I tried to make at the very opening. She thinks just getting federal money into an area creates long-term, good, lasting jobs. It doesn't. It is stimulating private investment that makes the difference, and that suggests that we ought to cut the corporate tax from 35% to 15%, a very good step. And then he's going to talk about the fact that we probably have to do a better job in helping our workforce deal with the requirements of modern technology and modernize the capacity of our workforce. Other than that, I'm just guessing on both of those. Other than that, he's going to talk about deregulation and the traditional Republican agenda.
That sounds a lot like Mitt Romney from 4 years ago. Is it any different now? Is it a different message that works?
Well, what I think Trump has done is taken the Romney message and put it in a package of hot rhetoric, and it seems to appeal to the blue-collar workers that feel that they have been hurt badly over the last 8 years. The last 8 years has been disastrous for the American workforce, particularly our skilled workers. And so I think Trump has found a rhetoric to take the Romney message, wrap it in that rhetoric, and reach these folks that have always thought they had to vote Democrat.
Interesting. One last point here. 6 in 10 Americans say they're dissatisfied with their options here between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Maybe it stays that way, maybe it changes. Maybe Gary Johnson's in for a good November. Who do you believe at this stage in the election, the campaign, has the greater capacity to grow? Either one?
Well, I think Mrs. Clinton is stuck in the mire of character. That's hard to change. I think Trump, with a little discipline, can improve his campaign tremendously. And I think I hope, from what I am hearing in the last half a dozen days, that they're trying very hard to do that, starting with this speech in Detroit.
We shall see then. Thank you, Governor. John Sununu at a New
Thank
Hampshire
you.
Day. Good to have you back on. Abby.
All right, thanks, Bill. Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani calling out the media, saying many don't play fair when it comes to Donald Trump and they favor Hillary Clinton, claiming that Hillary Clinton is not subjected to the same kind of scrutiny. So is there a double standard? We're going to discuss.
Also, Michael Phelps back in the pool, coming back with a bang, bringing home yet another gold medal at the Olympics. We have all the dramatic moments from Team USA this weekend coming up.
And his little son, have you seen him?
Sure did. Nice stuff.
Opportunity to get up. What a big turn by Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps wins gold in the 400 free relay again.
By Michael Phelps, a 31-year-old swimmer, pulling off a stunning display in the 400-meter relay, helping Team USA win and earning himself a record 19 gold medals. Carly Shimkus is a reporter for Fox News Headlines 24/7 and joins us now. I just love watching these Olympics. I mean, going to bed at night, I feel so inspired.
Don't you?
I really do. I'm like, I wish I were that good at
it's
something.
It's something that everybody can rally around. I absolutely love it, too. Now, Michael Phelps is
19 medals.
He's an Olympic veteran, and it really showed. Actually, when he entered the water, Team USA was in second place, but he made up that time and then some. He actually finished his leg of the 4x100 in just over 47 seconds. His coach said that is one of his fastest finishes of all time. Can you believe that? I mean, a lot of people painted the picture of this particular four-men team of being sort of the underdog because Michael Phelps, this is his 5th Olympics. He's a little older, but he was trying to paint that
which I love the fact that he is still going strong.
Well, not only is he going strong, he's even really beating his own record. So really,
maybe it's his son that's his good luck charm.
Phenomenal win there, and absolutely, you're absolutely right. His adorable son was wearing this little onesie with a gold medal on it, and he said his wife posted an Instagram picture of his son and said, you know, when Daddy retires, we have another Phelps that's going to enter the water.
Cutest little guy.
Absolutely.
All right, another swimmer, Katie Ledecky. Everyone is talking about her.
Well, it was really Katie Ledecky versus Katie Ledecky yesterday. She beat her own world record by 2 seconds. Can you believe that? She was really an entire body length ahead of everybody that whole entire race. A lot of people talking about her today, and one of those people, Michael Phelps, she said that Michael Phelps is her inspiration, her role model. Well, she really secured his respect.
And I love their response when they get out of the water because they don't really know until they take their goggles off and then kind of see what happens.
That's one of the incredible things about swimming is you really don't know where anybody else is while you're in the water, so you got to turn around and then the reaction.
All right.
What a payoff.
The Williams sisters. What happened here? I think everyone's shocked by this.
Well, this is a huge upset, especially because Serena and Venus entered the Olympics in the number 1 seed, and they were defeated by an unseeded Czech Republic. But listen, I mean, there was a lot of pressure on them, and Serena Williams just coming off her 14th Grand Slam, a lot of pressure there. Her reaction to losing, she said, "We played terrible. That's it. You know, you can't win them all, but you can win some." Because as of last night, the U.S. has a total of 12 medals, 3 of them gold, 5 silver, 4 bronze. We are number 1 right now.
And many more to go,
Isn't that
I'm
fantastic?
sure. Carly, awesome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks a lot.
Tough for the Williams sisters, right?
I feel bad for them, Bill. I feel for them.
And no pressure on Phelps' kid, right? I mean,
oh, yeah, I know.
He's in diapers for crying out loud. Okay, big day for Donald Trump in a moment. Here this morning, we get to see his ideas for the economy. Will it also mark a new chapter in his campaign? Hour Fox News alert now. An Iranian scientist executed for spying for the United States. Now a Republican senator raising new questions on whether or not his name showed up on Hillary Clinton's private email server. As we say good morning, 10 o'clock here in New York. Brand new hour here. I'm Bill Hemmer, and a big welcome back to Abby.
Always good to be
Get
with
you all
you,
week,
Bill.
right?
All week.
Okay.
I'm a lucky lady.
Here we go.
Good to be with you, too. I am Abby Huntsman for Martha McCallum, and Iran revealing that it executed a prominent scientist accused of giving the U.S. inside information on Tehran's nuclear program. Well, Senator Tom Cotton saying Hillary Clinton, while Secretary of State, discussed the man's case in State Department emails that may not have been secure.
In the emails that were on Hillary Clinton's private server, there were conversations among her senior advisors about this gentleman. That goes to show just how reckless and careless her decisions was to put that kind of highly classified information on a private server. And I think her judgment is not suited to keep this country safe.
Chief Washington correspondent James Rosen on this story in D.C. James, good morning. Who was the scientist, and what do we know about him and perhaps what he did along with the U.S.?
Bill, good morning. We're talking about Shahram Amiri, whose execution the Iranian regime confirmed yesterday, and whose family has reportedly said he was hanged. Amiri disappeared altogether during a pilgrimage to Mecca in June 2009. He turned up a year later, posting internet videos in which he alternately claimed to have been abducted by the CIA, taken to Tucson, Arizona, and tortured, and that he was altogether free and safe. It went unexplained how he could have made such videos if in captivity. Here's what Secretary Clinton said about him at the time.
Mr. Amiri has been in the United States of his own free will, and he is free to go. He's free to go. He was free to come. These decisions are his alone to make.
He then turned up at the Pakistani embassy here in Washington and stated his desire to return to Iran, which he did. At first, the Iranians claimed the scientist was a double agent who had penetrated American intelligence. Then they charged him with giving the U.S. vital information about the Iranian nuclear program. At least 2 emails on Secretary Clinton's private server discussed the case, one by her national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, another by an energy specialist who alluded to Amiri having psychological problems and who suggested the affair be framed publicly as a misunderstanding with no malevolent intent. As our viewers will recall, FBI Director James Comey concluded Secretary Clinton's, quote, extreme carelessness with classified information on her private server had made it possible that, quote, hostile actors may have gained access to her emails.
Wow, James Rosen on that. More to come in Washington. Thank you, James. 2 minutes now past the hour.
And Donald Trump defining a new course for America's financial futures, outlining its plans to unleash the U.S. economy. Trump delivering a major policy speech today in Detroit as he tries to reboot his campaign. Some of his supporters offering a preview over the weekend. Listen.
I think Trump's speech tomorrow is going to lay out a program for economic growth that will bring a lot of jobs back to America. This country should be growing not at a 0.5%.
Donald Trump has different policies in terms of the economy. This economy could be humming in absolutely no time if you got rid of the unnecessary regulations and you made a tax policy that incentivized rather than disincentivized people. This is not rocket science.
And that is where we find Peter Ducey is live in Detroit, where Donald Trump is about to unleash this economic plan in, what, 2 hours now, Peter?
Right, Abby, we've seen an outline of the speech now, and Trump, in 2 hours, is going to list a number of places that he thinks the government should get out of the way of business owners. So, a campaign source tells us that Trump is going to pitch a moratorium on new agency regulations and a new corporate tax of 15%, a lot lower than the current rate of 35%. Now, among some other reforms that the campaign says is going to lead to the most streamlined tax structure since Reagan was president, there would be just 3 tax brackets instead of the 7 there are right now, and taxes on child care costs would be eliminated. There is also today going to be a big focus on 2 trade deals that Trump has singled out many times on the stump. He wants to renegotiate NAFTA and completely withdraw from the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And Trump is also going to call for an energy policy that is very coal-friendly and that asks TransCanada to renew their application to build the Keystone XL pipeline, which stalled under the current administration. Abby.
So, Peter, for that, he picked the city of Detroit. What do we know about the crowd behind you? How are they different than a normal Trump crowd?
It's going to be different. First of all, the event is sold out, which is normal for Donald Trump, but it's a luncheon which is not so common for Donald Trump. The Detroit Economic Club over the years has heard from candidates in the Democratic Party and in the Republican Party, but Trump is the first nominee to appear here since John Kerry 12 years ago. So the people filling the seats paid for tickets. They will not have waited hours in line for the event. They won't be holding signs or chanting. And there's no guarantee that the people in this crowd are even here because they like Donald Trump. They are just part of the Detroit Economic Club. They want to hear what his vision is. So with that said, Donald Trump is going to have a good idea of how his economic vision is being received by a potentially skeptical audience in real time in this room. Abby?
Yeah, and the Trump campaign hoping this can get him back on track. Peter Ducey live for us. Peter, thanks.
Certainly job growth a major focus of this plan. And Trump's campaign manager telling me on Friday the official jobless numbers in the U.S. today are worse than they look. Listen to this.
The real unemployment rate of those who've left the job force and are no longer looking pushes the unemployment number up to close to 10%. Unemployment in the cities among blacks and Hispanics is up. Wages are stagnant. Productivity is lessening. Businesses are not investing. Why is that? Because there's an economic policy of this administration that is not pro-growth on jobs.
So let's talk about that with Peter Navarro, Senior Trade Advisor on Trump's Economic Council. Sir, how are you? And good morning to you.
Doing just fine. Looking for a big day in Detroit. We're going to be announcing what's the second economic revolution since the Ronald Reagan revolution.
All right, I'll ask you a question about that now. July unemployment 4.9% as of last Friday. The underemployment rate, the July real unemployment, we should say, that Manafort was referring to is 9.7%. Includes a lot of people who have simply dropped out of the workplace. Give me in simple terms, what's the contrast economically between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton?
Sure. The goal first is to double our economic growth rate in terms of GDP to 3.5% to 4%. He hits 4 points of the compass today: energy, regulation, taxes, and trade. If you contrast Clinton, Trump on that, let's start with energy. Hillary Clinton wants to kill the coal industry. She said so. Donald Trump wants to unleash what is the greatest resource in this country in many ways, our energy potential. He will do that. If you look at regulation, the Obama administration passed 400 major new regulations costing over $100 million each. Donald Trump is going to roll back those regulations. He's going to have a moratorium on regulations. And by unleashing the business sector, not regulating them so much, that's all to the good.
Okay.
Taxes and trade, he's in Detroit. This is great. It's like lowering the corporate tax actually helps bring car companies back to Michigan. How does it do that? We've seen GM and Ford right now sending billions of dollars in the last couple of years to Mexico instead of in Michigan. Why do they do that? Partly because of the high corporate tax rate in America that pushes them there. Secondly, unequal treatment between VAT taxes versus income taxes in the World Trade Organization. Donald Trump's not going to put up with that. So there's a lot of Clinton versus Trump. It's all good when it comes to Clinton.
She's going to be there on Thursday in Detroit, and she'll pitch her message then. We have heard about tax reform in countless presidential elections of the past. But how does he make that message clear and heard that will be distinguishable in this campaign?
Because tax policy is an intricate part of all the other three elements. What Donald Trump's vision is starts with the idea we got to double our economic growth rate, and that all of these pieces, which are often viewed as independent silos, actually fit together. So the tax plan, when you lower that corporate tax rate, what you're doing is you're bringing our companies back here on domestic soil to create jobs for American people. When you deal with the tax inversion issue and you get the $500 billion that's parked offshore right now back into America, that's good for the American people. And let's face it, I mean, businesses are just slammed with all sorts of taxes and regulations, particularly small businesses, and that's got to go away so that we can grow again. It's a question of emphasis, my friend. Yeah. Clinton wants to regulate and tax. Donald Trump wants to grow.
We'll see him in an hour and 20 minutes live in Detroit. Peter, thank you for your time. That's Peter Navarro out of Laguna Beach in California.
All right, I want to give you an update now on this travel nightmare. Delta Airlines lifting a worldwide ground stop, limiting departures now resuming after a power outage caused its computer systems to crash, halting all of its flights and stranding passengers at airports around the world. The system-wide breakdown lasting more than 6 hours. Some flights now are taking off, though, but the airline says customers should still expect delays and cancellations with long wait lines, which is also code bill for get a mimosa and stay for a while.
You could do that.
Think about it. People have babies. They've got dogs.
Right.
I mean, that's a nightmare.
Long day for a lot of folks. 10 minutes past the hour now. Iran has executed a nuclear scientist who we now know helped the United States. He was mentioned in emails found on Hillary Clinton's private server. So more on that in a moment. Steve Hayes.
Also, critics hammering Clinton's response to questions about the email investigation. Why one top Republican says she has simply found a new way to lie.
And is the media giving both sides a fair shake in this race for the White House? A major newspaper saying it's impossible to work without bias. Details on that. First, though, here's the mayor, Rudy Giuliani.
I know the media always discounts this because you don't like to get criticized, but you don't treat us the same way that you treat Democrats. Hillary, Bill, Obama, they get the benefit of the doubt.